This does happen to pass today or over the weekend. What then is the fate if we control the House, but we have a speaker that is basically pushing and passing the Democrats' agenda? What do you recommend should be the fate of Mike Johnson?
We are making that decision on a minute-by-minute basis today, Steve, and I think you can stay tuned.
So that was Steve Bannon yesterday talking with Marjorie Taylor Greene about what would happen if the House passed the government funding bill, which it just did, notably without a majority of Republicans. And that has kicked off what looks like another war for who will be the new House Speaker. Marjorie Taylor Greene, immediately following the vote, filed a motion to vacate, which doesn't immediately trigger a vote on a new speaker like it did with Speaker McCarthy, but saying she will likely do so soon.
I filed the motion to vacate today, but it's more of a warning and a pink slip. I respect our conference. I paid all my dues to my conference. I'm a member in good standing, and I do not wish to inflict pain on our conference and to throw the House in chaos. But this is basically a warning, and it's time for us to go through the process, take our time, and find a new Speaker of the House that will stand with Republicans and our Republican majority instead of standing with the Democrats.
If it's a warning, if it's a warning, does that mean that you're not going to go through and force this vote?
No, I will. There's
nothing that can convince you to back off.
There's not a time limit on this. It doesn't have to be forced and throw the House into chaos. I don't want to put any of our members in a difficult place like we were for 3.5 weeks. We're going to continue our committee work. We're going to continue our investigations. There's a lot of good investigations going that have to be able to proceed, and the American people deserve that. But I'm not saying that it won't happen in 2 weeks or it won't happen in a month or who knows when. But I am saying the clock has started. It's time for our conference to choose a new speaker. You can look at the numbers and the votes of this. This bill was passed without a majority of Republicans. This is a Democrat budget, and it was passed by Mike Johnson.
Should Johnson step down? Should Johnson have stepped down?
That'd be a choice that he would have to make, but we're going to have to find a new speaker.
Congressman, you saw what happened in the fall. We saw one, speaker candidate after another fall short of getting the votes necessary. How could you possibly even find someone to succeed Mike Johnson who could get the votes, keep this conference together, and not plunge this chamber into chaos?
We're going to have to do it because the country is in crisis.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, while she hasn't officially forced a new vote for House Speaker, saying she likely will in coming weeks. And what's the real reason?
But we need a Speaker of the House that knows how to negotiate, knows how to walk in the room, knows how to hold the line, and knows how to defend America first and the values and the policies that President Trump will bring the next year.
There it is. Anything that can be remotely perceived as not beneficial to Trump, in this case, averting a government shutdown, is seen as bad in the eyes of this extremist MAGA wing of the party. I mean, Speaker Johnson is no saint. He's no rational Republican, but he doesn't want to tank the American economy by refusing to fund the government. That seems like a reasonable floor to agree on, not allowing the government to shut down and harm the American economy. But that's what Republicans want. They want absolute chaos. Now, here's what Fox News had to say about this.
I feel we are seeing yet another tantrum by a tiny faction of that conference that is disrupting the entire machine that we just exhaustively waited for to get back on track. And here we are again, watching someone steal the time, steal the audio, steal the limelight, steal the attention. She says we should have our attention on the illegals streaming across the border, on a million other things. No, our attention was on you while you gave a presser. I'm sick and tired of it. As a Republican, as an American citizen, I want them to get to work. I love Speaker Johnson. Who would be better than him, MTG? What is your plan? And I don't want my legislature taking 2 days up to vote for that, to figure everything out, to look incompetent during a presidential election year. This is the last thing I want to be subjected with. This is, it's frankly, at a minimum, it's disappointing.
But Steve Bannon and the extreme MAGA faction of the party set this up. They prepared for this and basically set the stage before this vote to oust Speaker Johnson. The Republicans' majority is so razor thin that any whack job in Congress who wants to destroy any possibility of legislating can do it. And that's what Bannon and this wing of the party set up ahead of this vote.
I just don't understand in a rational world how this in a Republican House they can put this forward. Can you explain it to our audience?
It's total lack of backbone, total lack of leadership, and a total failure by Republican leadership. There's no other way to describe it. This bill is an abomination. I don't even have words for any Republican that votes for this bill. I promise you I will not be going out and supporting any Republican who votes for this bill for any position ever again. It's absolutely unsupportable by anybody who is a self-proclaimed conservative.
So Bannon, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Chip Roy set the stage with this before the vote. And why? Well, let's just listen to these power-hungry sycophants.
This bill funds the new FBI headquarters after Republicans in the last first half of the omnibus said, oh, don't worry, we were defunding some of the FBI. It's all crap. They now put the money back in to fund the FBI headquarters. We put the money back in to fund the World Health Organization that we fought to claw out of our appropriations bills last year.
They want to defund the FBI and the World Health Organization, the party of law and order. And what else do they want to do?
And you and I both care intently about the border. You just had Don Jr. on there, former President Trump. These are people who are serious about securing the border. We know that radical progressive Democrats led by Biden want our borders to be open, to destroy our sovereignty, to pile people into our country, to allow, yes, criminals who act like animals, as the former president said, to kill Americans. Yes, Democrats are doing that. And what's Republicans' response? Give them more money. Continue to fund it. Give Border Patrol even more money under this bill.
They want to secure the border by giving the Border Patrol less money. I mean, you can't make this up. This is a full-on effort to sabotage America and American prosperity in an effort to potentially help Trump politically.
We shouldn't be joining hands with Democrats just to show we can govern or we can get things done, no matter how harmful to the American people.
There's Republican Congressman Bob Good saying it explicitly. We shouldn't help the Democrats, no matter how harmful to the American people. They want the government to shut down. They want an open border. They want total chaos so they can use that chaos to try and help Trump politically. That's why they voted against the border bill that they asked for, which the Trump-supporting head of the Border Patrol Union supported, and what Fox News' chief political analyst and lifelong Republican Britt Hume said was the most conservative border bill he's ever seen.
Look, think of what the Republicans are doing, for example, Kevin, on the border issue. They said that they wouldn't pass aid to Ukraine and other places unless there was action on the border. So the Senate produced a bill negotiated by one of its most conservative Republican members on the border, which had some defects in it, as compromise measures always do. And it was nonetheless the strongest border protection bill that I've seen in my time in Washington. And the House simply announced it was not going to take it up, so it failed even in the Senate.
And all the Republicans who are behind this, the Steve Bannons, the Chip Roys, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, are engaged in perhaps the most intentional and blatant gaslighting attempt I have ever seen.
A vote for this bill is a vote against America. A vote for this bill is a vote for the mass parole and release of criminals that are killing Americans. Any Republican who votes for this bill owns the murders, the rapes, and the assaults by the people that are being released into our country.
Genuinely amazing stuff. They won't secure the border. They won't fund the government. They're trying to plunge this country into chaos. And yet they accuse the Democrats of being against America and inviting immigrants in to kill Americans. The sickest group of Republicans and Americans this country has ever seen. Trump is right about maybe one thing. The real enemy to America is from within.